About time for the roundtable. Before we get to that, I want to give a plug for the River Run January Chiller. It's a screening of the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, January 10th and 11th. Veronica Cartwright, what a great character actress she is. She's great. She's going to be there taking some Q&A. The information's on screen, riverrunfilm.com, so check that out if you would. Now, I have three guys I want you to check out right now. Next to me on my right, but always the political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster journalist. Next to him, who's a gentleman who's agreed to stay over from an earlier segment. We're always glad when we can grab him to do that. David Daggett, attorney with Daggett Shuler, who was on the show earlier talking about the Land Conservancy and the Farm Run. And Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants, doing great work in human and economic development around the globe. Gentlemen, let's get to it. Just when we thought all the monument controversies were behind us, the UNC Board of Governors has agreed to give the Sons of the Confederacy $2.5 million for the relocation and maintenance of the Silent Sam statue, so long as it isn't moved into one of the 14 counties where they have a UNC campus. The money will come from a charitable trust, but students are still outraged. Guys, should UNC be paying millions of dollars to a Confederate group? Ogie Overman.
Well, this goes back to when they fired Tom Ross, a great president, and packed the board with all these right-wingers, including Marty Codis. And no, that's just an abomination. That's horrible. That's horrible.
Even though it's not coming
just
out
get
of
rid of it. Just bury it and get rid of it.
And we can't answer this, but I'm wondering what exactly is a charitable trust that the money would come from? Because it's coming from somewhere. David, what do you think about it?
So we've weighed in on the statue issue on previous shows.
Right.
On this issue, I think there's something to be said for preserving antiquities, even the ones that aren't positive. Now, the price for that and where the money comes from, we could debate and argue about, but I think preserving antiquities is important.
Almost like putting it in a museum or something.
Almost like that. I likened it to, you can go to Germany and visit concentration camps.
Right.
There's a lesson to be learned from that. That doesn't mean you're supporting it.
Got it. Keith?
I think that $2.5 million need to go into historical black colleges. You can move a car for free.
Yeah.
You can't move a statue. You're going to take $2.5 million to move a statue that brings up a racial history that for black people is harmful. I think is crazy.
It's for the care and feeding of the statue. I don't know what that means. Anyway, speaking of misdirected funds, I'll probably get criticized for saying this. The Winston-Salem community has raised, it's a great project, raised over $2 million to erect decorative arches over a stretch of I-40. And going to Keith's point about something else that money can be used from, we've got a childhood hunger problem here. Wouldn't $2 million have been better spent on something like that, Ogie?
Well, you can argue that, but these things like this, I love these ideas that really don't on the surface make any sense at all. They're just out of the blue. Cities need some kind of a stupid thing for an identity. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I've written about this a lot. A gateway arch or the Space Needle or something. I've been pushing for the world's largest Coke bottle in Greensboro.
I think there's an arch over David Daggett's office.
It's a rainbow.
Something that makes no sense.
Well, I think we're the city of arts. Now, whether the arch is what we need or not, we're the city of arts. We also do a lot of work to fight the hunger problem. And it's not trade one for the other. It's yes and yes, let's do both. Now, some of us are going to like the arch and some of us aren't,
right.
But I think it's a positive move to promote our area and to promote our city.
All right, we're still on this topic, though, about the arches. Keith?
Well, I think, number one, that there's a homeless problem in Winston and other places. I think money should be spent focusing on those issues, and if there's an arch, you can have a private donor that would donate something like that would allow that to happen. But I really feel like we need to focus on the human impact of what we do in our city.
I've
I really believe
many
that.
times before. The late great Clyde Fitzgerald was on the show. Eric Aft comes on the show frequently from the food bank, and I keep thinking about the hunger problem they talk about, especially childhood hunger, the poverty rate, which will astound people in the Winston-Salem area. And it just, I don't know, and I'm not criticizing the people that raise the money, but it just kind of hurts to see that maybe that could have gone to alleviate some problems. Anybody have any other thoughts before we move on?
Why does it have to, like David says, it doesn't have to be an either or, Jim. There's ways to do it.
To do both.
It really is.
And I believe it was private funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
believe it was
I
private.
understand that.
But I still think that in terms of the issues that we face, specifically in communities of colors, there needs to be more funding in these communities, specifically around those issues that we discussed, because the schools and all those things in some of these communities still need this funding. And if we're spending $2.5 million on an arch when the students in some of these schools cannot even afford lunch money or school supplies, I think it's a problem.
Yeah, it bothers me. So I'm going to sort of disagree and agree with some of that. It just, if you're hungry, the arches, you can't eat arches. Following the lead of several other states, the North Carolina the Republican Party is protecting Donald Trump by refusing to allow any Republican challenger's name on the March 3rd primary ballot. Well, you say, well, so what? Okay. Suppose you're a moderate Republican or a non-affiliated person. You want to vote for, say, former Governor Bill Weld as an alternative to Donald Trump. You can't do that unless you write it in. Is this a form of voter suppression, guys? And would you like to see the State Board of Elections overturn this decision before the ballot's printed? Ogie.
Well, it is. I mean, they even cannibalize themselves. They love voter suppression so much. But my question is, does the Board of Elections have the authority to do that, to overrule the GOP?
They can't overrule it.
Well, they should. They absolutely should.
Because the Board of Elections has the final decision on what actually gets printed on that ballot. But the GOP, the Democrats, Republicans, the Green Party, whoever, had to turn in their recommendations, their requirements, and then they can be kicked back out.
But they're Republicans they're keeping off.
I know it. It doesn't make it.
I think in a democracy, you need to hear all voices, and this cuts out some voices. Even if that voice doesn't win, the voice needs to be heard.
Keith Cranberry.
I think the problem is that if you do it with Donald Trump, then you're going to be able to do it with other people. And so you're creating some type of dictatorship when it comes to state parties, when it needs to be an open democracy. That's the problem.
I agree. According to a report released last week, in this past year alone, this is astounding, there have been 3,000 reported sexual assaults during Uber rides. Guys, if this had been 3,000 cases of smallpox or something, instead of 3,000 rapes, the state departments, state health departments in every state would have said, we're shutting this thing down until we can figure out what's going on. Maybe I know it's apples and oranges, but still, shouldn't the state and federal agencies step in and threaten to shut Uber down until they figure this out, Ogie?
Yeah, that's a lot. 3,000 is a lot.
They said, well, we're going to work on it. We're going to work on improving.
They've got to vet these drivers or something, or if I were a woman, I would just take a taxi. I'd call a cab. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, David, should we shut it down?
No, remember that of that 3,000, some are the passengers assaulting the drivers.
I understand.
So it's both ways. That's why we have a legal system. There's a criminal system and there's a civil system. And between those two systems, we ought to be able to regulate conduct in society. Criminal is an executive function. The civil system is a way to send a message as to what conduct we're going to deem acceptable, and we're going to make them pay a price for deviating from that.
But if you're regulating them, doesn't that mean you should, like the health department analogy, shouldn't you be able to shut them down?
You should. Remember, it's a two-way problem. What we got to do is narrow the fences. And make the problem smaller.
Well, I think we don't really know how many assaults happen in taxi cabs either. I don't know the answer to that question. But I think that Uber grew so fast that there's probably some kinks that needs to be worked out. As David said, there is the assault of the drivers and assault of the passengers, but there needs to be something worked out because Uber grew so fast, but the money involved in bringing an organization like that, a corporation that to community is so much that they're not going to shut it down.
All right, let's go a little lighter on this, guys. A substitute school, well, I don't know if it's a light topic or not. A substitute school teacher in Brooklyn has been fired after he told a class of first graders the truth about Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. Now, I'm not going to say what the truth is, but are you okay with a teacher being fired for ruining the beliefs of small children, Ogie Overman?
Yeah, that's cold-blooded. That's not right. To let a kid be a kid, they have to grow up too fast anyway.
Yeah, what do you
think?
think?
There's no harm in Santa Claus.
This is a legal thing too because you've been fired.
Ogie, to you, I'm a kid, and I don't want you to burst my bubble on any of these sort of things either. I'm still trying to sort them out.
You think he should be fired?
No.
No.
I don't like it, but I'm not sure.
Keith, what do you think? Should the guy have been fired, the teacher have been fired for telling the kids the truth about Santa Claus?
What's the truth about Santa Claus? I'm waiting on him to come and give me my gifts. No. I don't think he should have been fired. I think that that he should have been reprimanded but not fired.
All right, finally, I don't know about what you guys put under your pillow for the Tooth Fairy, but according to an online poll by the TV show The Doctors, you get a better night's sleep if you put a bar of soap under your pillow. Guys, have you ever slept with a bar of soap in your bed? Ogie?
I've never even heard of that, Jim. It's a funny thing, though. I do sleep with, I have a bunch of little flashlights that I take to bed with me.
You sleep with flashlights?
Yeah, it's a weird thing, but it kind of goes back to childhood, but I like doing it.
True disclosure.
I don't even know how to David, do you
Well,
sleep?
I kind of hate to admit this. I do sleep with a bar of soap because there was another study that showed that it stops calf cramps. And when I'm in the middle,
You sleep with calves?
no, my calves,
Oh,
my
your
legs
calves.
cramp, particularly when I'm in the heat of Ironman
So soap
training.
will-
And if you put soap under your sheet down by your feet, you don't get calf cramps at night.
Keith, have you ever
So-
been to David's house?
so I
when
did-
this
No,
is,
I have never been to David.
You're welcome. Anytime.
You ever sleep with the soap in your bed, Keith?
No, but I think that people should use soap before they go to bed.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I don't know about
Especially if you're-
sleeping with it.
Yeah, especially if you're sleeping with
That's
calves.
exactly right.
So I'm the only one that's got experience
No,
on
that's
this.
all
See,
right.
see,
I never heard
That's
that.
all the time we have, fortunately, or I don't know what else, except for this. Scientists at MIT have developed a time-release birth control pill that women only have to take once a month. So far, though, the pills only work on pigs. Asked if she likes the new birth control pill, one sow said, "Are you kidding? Have you seen the swine I'm dating?" For all of us here on Triad today, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you. Have a happy holiday.